What's up, guys? I'm Justin Burkholtz, and today's video is about how I learned to sing and ecstatic singing as a spiritual practice. So buckle up because this is a wild ride. This is a crazy story I've been wanting to tell for quite a while now, and I'm super excited to finally be able to share it with you all. And this practice is by far the most powerful out of anything I have ever tried. But before we get to the good stuff, if you're interested in mysticism, spiritual practices, or science-based protocols for improving longevity, health, and wellness, and want to support my effort to bring this content in an accessible format to a wide audience for free here on YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and consider supporting me on Patreon or with a one-time donation. Those links can be found below. I have always had a deep love of music. There are few things that bring me as much joy as music. Listening to it is a rapturous, ecstatic experience for me. I really lose myself in it. But throughout my life, I've had a lot of difficulty making music. My body was apt for playing the violin, but when it came to singing or whistling, it just seemed like the capability wasn't there. Like I was missing nerve connections or something that allowed people to do those things. And I did have some physical issues with my jaw and my neck that made it more difficult. But I don't believe that was what was really keeping me from being able to sing. I believe it was actually a deep mental block. I remember trying to learn how to whistle when I was a child on several occasions, and the feelings of incompetence and confusion when I just couldn't do it. It seriously challenged my ego. I was very proud of my physical abilities, and most things came really naturally to me. I was naturally good at, most sports and other kinds of physical activities, but not whistling and not singing. It wasn't until my early 20s that I learned how to whistle. I was introduced to a musical artist named Andrew Bird, and he whistled a lot in his music, and it was really beautiful. His music really spoke to me because he was also a violin player, and we share similar intellectual interests. So the lyrics, spoke to me as well. His music really stood out to me, so I listened to his albums over and over again, trying to sing and whistle along, and one day it clicked. I was whistling, and I learned how to control it and whistle along to his beautiful melodies. But I still couldn't even begin to sing. And I mean that. I had absolutely zero vocal control. I couldn't control the pitch or volume or timbre of my voice at all. Whether speaking or trying to sing, it just seemed entirely impossible to me. It wasn't until I completely surrendered and had given up at being able to sing that path would open for me. Then one day I was in a really good mood because I'd just gotten back from a business trip that had gone well. My girlfriend was out of town, so I had the house to myself. And I decided that it would be a perfect opportunity to take some LSD and have a really personal spiritual experience. The set and setting were just perfect. So I took some and I went about my business. At one point, a couple hours in, I felt like listening to some music, so I put some on. I was up and dancing and cleaning and hanging out with my animals. And at one point, I felt like it just called to me. I felt like the music was drawing me in. And so I stopped doing what I was doing. I just went out to the middle of the floor. And what happened next is one of those spiritual experiences that are so profound and overwhelming that describing them accurately is a nearly impossible task. Nevertheless, that is what I'm attempting to do with this story. So bear with me if it seems outlandish. That is often the case with such things. But it was as if I was drawn into the music. My consciousness was drawn out of my head and into the vibrations of the music. I could see the sound waves bouncing around me, and I surrendered completely to the experience. let my ego and sense of small self dissolve away and fade into my environment and into the vibrations. And the music overtook me. I could feel and see the vibrations and felt myself being urged to join them. And all of a sudden, I was singing. I wasn't even consciously trying to. It was just happening. My consciousness just kind of focused on my throat and the vibrations emanating from it. And I could feel the entirety of my awareness just concentrated there. And I could feel healing and expansion and energy flowing through parts of my anatomy I had never experienced before. I could see the sound waves coming out of my mouth and clashing or synchronizing with those from the music. But then something even deeper happened. I became conscious of the normally subconscious synchrony that occurs whenever we listen to music or speech. A lot of people don't know this, but when you listen to someone sing or talk, your larynx and your throat actually synchronizes to whoever's speaking and kind of mimics their pattern or what you would have to do to produce those same sounds. And this effect brought me out of time and space, out of my body and mind even further, and into the physical and emotional experience of the original singer. I could feel and see all of their emotions and expressions and everything that they were feeling as they sang the song, and all these heights and depths of emotional states that were far from removed from my own life came flooding through me. I laughed, I cried, and I exclaimed in joy. After some time, my consciousness expanded even further, and I was completely overwhelmed with the deepest bliss and joy. I was singing. I was really singing. The satisfaction of overcoming an obstacle that I've been struggling with for decades washed over me. And I entered this state of mystical ecstasy and just sang for hours until I completely exhausted and used up all of my energy. And that was how I learned to sing. But as with any other profound mystical experience, if I didn't find some way to carry that experience forward into my life, it would slowly fade into irrelevance and have little lasting impact. And this is where I see a lot of people go astray on the plant medicine and psychedelic path. People become experience junkies, always looking for the next peak fix to come from some external source, some substance or some retreat or some festival or something like that. That doesn't lead to the kind of growth that I wanted for myself. You know, as the great Alan Watts said, if you get the message, hang up the phone. For psychedelic drugs are simply instruments, like microscopes, telescopes, and telephones. The biologist does not sit with his eye permanently glued to the microscope. He goes away and works on what he has seen. So I knew I needed to do that. I knew I had glimpsed something profound. I had a deep opening and awakening. And I didn't want to leave it there. I wanted to go away and work on what I had seen. The psychedelic experience had unlocked something deep within me and had opened up a whole new realm of pleasure and joy that had been closed to me before. I could actually sing, but I was still terrible at it. Most of my vocal range had never been used. I'd never developed the muscles around my throat and chest and diaphragm that are used in singing, but it brought me so much joy that I didn't care how difficult it was or how bad I was. I wanted to keep trying, and I knew that eventually I would get better. So I started singing along to music every day, whenever I could, and it became the most joyous and beautiful and motivating part of my entire day. And that's when I decided that I really needed to take that and turn it into a real spiritual practice. I realized that I was quickly and reliably getting into a flow state and having powerful experiences that were completely psychedelic without any substances. I was experiencing peak states of bliss and absorption, having kaleidoscopic visions, and absolutely buzzing with energy every time within 5 to 10 minutes. And the best part was that I could experience that kind of rapturous bliss every single day with no crashes, no side effects, and no legality issues. In fact, by this time I had been experimenting with different spiritual practices for several years. And this was by far the most powerful, reliable, and invigorating out of anything I had ever tried. I was getting so much out of my singing practice that it ended up being one of the most important of my spiritual practices, and I'm remiss that I didn't write about it or share about it sooner. I tried a few times, but I just couldn't get it quite right, because it's not just about singing along to music. You have to completely surrender to the experience, be totally present, totally absorbed, and until very recently, techniques and technologies for absorption were kind of taboo. Thankfully, things are changing quite rapidly. Meditation, breathwork, yoga, psychedelics, and all kinds of things like that are soaring in popularity, and even, psychedelics are making a comeback. This time under the careful guidance of doctors, scientists, and therapists, rather than, messianic gurus. And I love all of those things, and they all have their uses, but none of them produce such powerful, ecstatic, and rapturous experiences as reliably as this simple, ecstatic singing practice. Alright, so here's how it goes. Create a short playlist of songs that you love, know well, and can at least somewhat sing along to. Like 10 to 15 minutes is long enough. Make sure you have some time and space for yourself. Go out in the middle of your room, play the music, close your eyes, and just sing and dance along. Let yourself get absorbed into the music. If you find yourself getting caught up in your head, or how you sound, how you look, etc., just gently bring your focus back to your singing. Remind yourself that this is a good thing. No one is judging you, and you're doing what you need to do to be your best self. And just keep at it. Don't judge yourself when you stray, and it gets easier and easier and easier over time, like any practice. In fact, I noticed that after about a week or two of doing this as an actual practice, doing it reliably and doing it at the same time of day, my body got used to it as well, and I would very quickly, almost instantly, enter those states of absorption. In fact, within the first song, I would already be there, and then I could go for maybe 2-3 songs, and within 10 minutes, that was all I needed, and I could go on with my day. Okay, so that's really it. Like I said, it's very simple, but you have to let yourself get into the music. You can't remain in your head, you can't remain in your ego or worrying about how you sound or how you look. That's why it has to be ecstatic. So it's very similar to ecstatic dancing, which is another technique that's been seeing popularity recently. A lot of people are talking about ecstatic dancing. It's really popular at like spiritual retreats and stuff like that. And it's a really fun experience to just let yourself go and dance like nobody's watching, even when people are watching or not, doesn't matter. Either way, it's a really great experience, but you really do need to get out of your head and just into the present and let it go. Alright, so that's how the practice works. You just keep singing and dancing until your music ends or until you're good to move on. Sometimes I don't even need a full 10 minutes, like I said. Maybe 2-3 songs worth, 8 minutes or so, and I'm good to go. Sometimes even less, just depends on the day. So if you've ever felt like that natural high from running or breath work or something like that, that's kind of an idea of what you're going to feel when you get into the flow of this practice. So that's really it. You just keep singing and dancing until your music ends or until you're good to move on. Like I said, sometimes I don't even need a full 10 minutes, maybe just a couple of songs. Because what happens is after a bit of practice and repetition, especially if you do this at the same time of day, with the same music, etc., your body gets used to it and it kind of learns those things as triggers or cues so that it knows exactly what you're going for, and you kind of more quickly and more reliably shift into that flow state that we're shooting for. So this practice is actually specifically designed with the exact parameters in mind to reliably induce flow states. And as renowned cognitive scientist John Vervaeke stated, the flow state is even more rewarding than pleasure. So much so that asking people how frequently they get into the flow state is a good predictor of their overall sense of well-being. So if you don't have a practice to get into the flow state regularly, try this one out. It dramatically improved my own sense of well-being, and I'm sure it can do the same for you. Alright, well that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And once again, thank you so much for visiting my channel and supporting my work. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that little notification bell so you don't miss any of the other upcoming content. And once again, a huge thank you to my patrons. Your support is greatly appreciated. I'm so glad that you enjoy my work and find it worthwhile. If anyone watching would like to support me, there are links below for my Patreon as well as one-time donations. And I do also offer one-on-one coaching sessions, and my first ebook is for sale there. My second will be available any day. All right, well, thanks for watching and have a good day.